Category 1 members, where a lot of very burning issues were discussed. But I also think that this is also another very burning issue, which is on union membership issues, recruitment, retention, and declining geographical representation. So we are going to have some panelists. Myself, I must say that I am a chair substitute in the sense that I'm chairing on behalf of Michael Meadows, who unfortunately could not be here. And I'm sure all of you know Mike, and he was past president of the International Geographical Union. So I'm very happy to be here. And of course, this whole session and its genesis was really through Priscilla Grew, who coordinated the session. And I hope Priscilla and Mike are in the audience. This is being live streamed. So a big shout out to both Priscilla and Michael. Priscilla is from the Union of Geodesy and Geophysics, IUGG. This whole session was really an outcome of 3 important roundtables that were conducted under the auspices of ISC, and as a result of 3 intensive online roundtables, this is where we are at today. Okay, so we will have presentations, actually presentations by myself, by Mioria Mandea and Hasina Mowry, and David Cohen will be making the presentation. So actually this is organized as sort of a panel discussion. Initially, people will make their short presentations. This is a huge room and too many chairs, but I do invite the panelists, Mioria Mandea, please do come up and occupy a chair. And Hasina Mowry, please. And of course, David Cohen. So these are the people that you can address some hard questions to. Please, I welcome you and do come up. So the way we also had Rania Kosti, who is unable to make her presentation today. Okay, so if you've followed the flow, if I could have the next slide. Oh, I have it here, sorry. Oh, does this work? I have no idea how this works. It worked? What happened? Oh, okay. So, yes. Okay, I figured this out. It has a lovely palm tree, and you have to click on the palm tree. Or a date palm, actually. So, we will have, I will make my remarks as a representative of, as the Secretary General of the International Union of Biological Sciences, followed by Miora, and then David Cohen will be making a presentation on behalf of the International Union of Geological Sciences. And of course, this is our target audience: scientific unions, association, executive committee members, particularly finance committee members, academy representatives, National Academy, and strategic planners. So without further ado, if I could have the second presentation, please. Somebody is listening out there. Presentation number 2. Okay, so this is a presentation about IUBS, and I'm really representing it as Secretary General of the International Union for Biological Sciences. We are, as we are very proud to say, a very old union, currently now 106 years old and still going very strong. No, this doesn't go. Okay. So IUBS really has its motto of unity through diversity. It's a non-governmental, non-profit organization, and it represents biology across all scales of size, complexity, and disciplines, with very special emphasis on emerging properties at any level. For example, populations or ecosystems. And it does connect scientists engaged in biology in a worldwide network, and we like to think of ourselves as the voice of all of biology. So it unites more than 110 national scientific and institutional members comprising national academies and international scientific associations and societies. This is just a slide to show you how we think of IUBS as being positioned and having connections with various important partners, whether it be the CBD Secretariat, UNESCO, IPBES, or the Earth Humanity Coalition, and many entities within the International Science Council also, things like CODATA, COSPAR, IUPAC, IUPAP, etc., etc. And then, of course, we have international societies, associations, academies, committees, and research agencies. So we like to position ourselves or think of ourselves as being connected with all these very, very important entities. Just to give you a little background, so as I said, IUBS unifies biology through diversity. We have some main areas of work currently, though these are some important areas that we think of. Biodiversity and science policy, big health, big data for biodiversity, One Health, pastoralism, socio-ecosystems, zoonotic diseases. As you can imagine, zoonotic diseases, I don't know what happened. Excuse me, the thing has gone off. I need to go back. How do I go back? Okay. We also are concerned about having a unified language for science. We are deeply concerned about basic science as well as science education. So we have a major program that is still running called TROP-ICSU, which had its genesis when ICSU existed. And that's on climate education, and it's a hugely successful program. We've recently started a program on chemical ecology and education in chemical ecology during the Anthropocene. IUBS stands for equal opportunities for everybody, as well as very strongly for gender equality. So we are involved in programs dealing with gender equality and equal opportunities. And these are really some of the cornerstones of what we believe in. Okay, so to come to the hard part of all of this, membership dues are our only source of revenue. We have 106 years of legacy, so we've got very varied annual due structure because of this legacy. We have national and ordinary members who pay these dues. An individual cannot become a member of IUBS. We also have nations as associate members who do not pay dues, and we encourage nations to initially join IUBS as an associate member and later may transition into full paying members. An example is Mongolia. And we have many, many international societies that are scientific members, and these do not pay dues. The current secretariat of IUBS is based in Paris. So currently we have 24 countries who are national and ordinary members. I've already told you about the associate members. And we have 85 scientific members that are international science associations or societies, all of which are relevant to biology. This just gives you a graphical representation, and you can see that there are huge parts of the world, particularly South America, Africa, and interestingly, big areas in the Western world also where we require representation. So what are our challenges? Of course, increasingly difficult to obtain annual dues because of various constraints. Some countries are willing to pay dues, but they can't because of swift transfer problems, as we have been talking in this meeting about the geopolitics of doing science. Because our bank accounts are based in France, we have certain, and we are a non-profit organization, we have some investment regulations. So we cannot invest in order to, make our corpus any larger, other than just receiving annual dues. And of course, as you have seen from the map, we do not yet have global representation. So one of the ideas, of course, we have been talking about, and you can see the big clusters in the world where we are not represented. So particularly, let's say, Africa and the island states, the Pacific Island and other island states. So we've been toying with the idea, and of course it requires more discussion, to have cluster membership. So we can think of regions that apply together to have a cluster membership. Maybe regional academies, let's say the African Union or the Pacific Islands, have an academy, a newly established Academy of Sciences. So we are thinking maybe of cluster memberships. So with this, I will stop here, and I'm sure you will have lots of questions which we can address in the panel discussion later. And I will request now Miora Mandea to make her presentation. Miora, go ahead. So that's too advanced. Can we have the next presentation, please?
Okay, good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you being here for these discussions. I think it's very important to have a moment to share between us questions and answers, if there are some good answers of our questions. I would like to thank Priscilla, hello Priscilla, if you are online, and Mike for putting this session together and to bring us around the tables. And of course, I would like to thank Niels, our treasurer, because he's not here today, and the bureau of IUGG, but I will come to this immediately. So IUGG in a few words. So I'm very happy here to speak for IUGG, but I'm not the only one. I'm very happy to say that Chris Rizos is here in the room. Chris is our president. He's based in Australia. And on the other side, Alex Rudolph, he is our general secretary. is there, and he's based in Potsdam, Germany. So this brings me to thanks also Geoforschungszentrum in Potsdam, because our secretariat is based in this institution, and is really very important for us. So the bureau, as you can see, is the president-elect. So myself, I'm president-elect. I will come in duties as president only in 2.5 years. Secretary General and Treasurer, and 3 members at large, and also the Executive Secretary and the immediate past President. And what is really very important for us is our associations and commissions. So currently, if we want to speak about IUGG, we have to speak about associations. And associations, as you can see, are 8, covering everything in geodesy and earth physics or geophysics. So I'm going to name them because I think it's important to see how large our domain is. So the International Association of Cryospheric Sciences, of Geodesy, of Geomagnetism and Aeronomy, of Hydrological Sciences, of Meteorology and Atmospheric Sciences, of Physical Sciences of Oceans, of Seismology and Physics of the Earth's deep interior, and volcanology and chemistry of the Earth's interior. So you can see with this that really every single part of our planet is somehow under the eye of one of our associations. But we also are very much involved in different other directions via commissions, and currently 5 commissions are in work. One is on climate and environmental changes. So everyone who is interested in these very important topics have here a platform to discuss. Mathematical geophysics, this is the reason we have a very good relation with mathematicians. Geophysical risk and sustainability, which is really also a very hot topic in our days. Studies of the Earth's deep interior, where again we are interested in what's happened under our feet till 3,000 kilometers to the core of the Earth. And finally, planetary sciences, because of course Earth is one planet, but we are very much interested also to compare our planet changes with what happened around in our solar system or far away, thinking about exoplanets. So before going really deeper in the subject, I would like only in a few words to say which are the membership benefits, because there are a lot. I'm not going to go really to all of them, but I think a few are really important here. For example, a member country and scientists for the country, of course, will be very much involved in all IUGG activities over all associations. The scientists of a member country can be elected to IUGG office and can participate to IUGG governance. This is really an opportunity for them to become international leadership in different domains, and also to participate together in different international interdisciplinary bodies as they are organized under IUGG or ISS auspices, committees, working groups, or commissions. Also very important is that every 4 years, IUGG has a General Assembly, and in between the General Assemblies, there are scientific assemblies of associations, and of course they are organized around the world, and it's a possibility, on one hand, for the country organizing these meetings to have some economical benefits, but also, and I think very important, is the visibility of the country and of scientists of this country with respect of these very important meetings. IUGG has a very important program for grants and support to IUGG symposium. So the member countries can apply to have these supports. And also it's very important for international cooperation because somehow in this domain of geodesy and geophysics, we are really the intersection of different roads, and is the point where we can discuss about these cooperation programs. And finally, I think it's very important for all scientists, if they are of the beginning of their career, middle career scientists, or very well-known scientists, to show that via them, their activities, there is a kind of prestige. And I think scientific prestige is very important. Now, a little bit about the program. So here I put together current programs and past programs, not all of them because there are many, mainly for the past programs. For the current programs, we are very much involved in International Lithosphere Program, Global Geodetic Observing Systems, World Climate Research Program, Integrated Research on Disaster Risks, International Year of Global Understanding, Mathematics of Planet Earth, and the World Data System, just to name a few of them. So I will move on. So now, the important point, finances. Of course, we need to talk finances, and we are very open. So here it's where we are. As you can see, the total income for this year is expected of something as 675K, and nearly 97% is from member countries. And with respect to what we are going to do with money for this year, we expect to spend a little bit more. So the first question you are going to have, how is possible? Well, it's possible because, unfortunately, COVID was here over some years, so we have some reserve, and we consider that it's very important not to keep these reserves, but to support our associations. So you can see that 65% of this amount of money will go really to associations directly in order to organize this year is the year of scientific assemblies or through funding programs. This is an important point. And something else, we are very much involved in supporting union commissions as well, but also some other programs supporting science, supporting early career scientists, administration. So here is a picture of countries who are linked to IUGG as member countries. In 2024, you can see 74 countries are member countries and 59 are paying countries. The membership dues are different, of course, depending on the GDP of each country is varying, as you know, in number of units, and every single unit is somehow defined and follows the US inflation. And you can see some countries have only 1 unit, but some countries have 80 units, so it's different. And the map, it's showing in dark green all countries, the 74 member countries paying or not, and in other colors, former member countries. So exactly as you said, we can see that there are some areas non-covered, and I think in our days, for example, for Africa, geophysics is really, really very important, considering the needs of understanding what's happened in this area from fundamental scientific point of view, because there are very important crucial questions, but also from applied geophysics, because we want or we want not, but today we still need to see what's happened and what we can go and found in a proper way resources. And for this, geophysics is the tool, the eye to go in. So somehow to finish with, so a large part of association finances is from IUGG. Something very interesting, in 2015, the IUGG Council decided to allow associations to ask for membership. It was not something decided at IUGG level, so we have not IUGG membership fees. However, at association level, it's free to be determined by association itself. So some associations ask for an amount money for membership, and some not. So this is really the way we work. And the association's money, because as you see, they are really independent in their way to use this money. They use mainly money to support these early career scientists or female scientists or scientists from low or mid-income countries to participate through meetings. As I told you, this year, all associations have this scientific association meeting, but there are lots of workshops or meetings organized under association auspices, and of course this money are used to help the organizer with participations of different members. And of course, money are for travel or for registration fees. So somehow to conclude, what is very important to see is that really at IUGG level, we are very, very much in connection with associations' life and commission lives, and we try to be with our scientists to support their science, to support their connection, to support their assemblies. And I think it's somehow our duties to bring attention of all these activities to some other countries if there are member paying or not paying, but it's very important to bring our science because we are talking about open science. This open science must be for everyone, and we have to be sure we don't lose someone on the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mioria. Right, so I'll now invite David Cohen, Treasurer of the International Union of Geological Sciences, to make a presentation. Could we have the next presentation? And I'll have to find my phone.
Good morning. I'll be presenting on behalf of Asina, who's here, and also our Secretary General. So rule number one, never get between a treasurer and a dollar. So when we talk about membership, we want the money to come in, but we don't want any money to go out. So that's sort of the underlying rule that treasurers follow, unless a very good argument is presented as to why money should be paid to do things such as join another peak body. So, green button. The other green button. Good. I've had involvement with a number of peak science organisations. I was president of the Australian Geoscience Council. 8 members, and the members are professional societies. One might look at it and think probably dominated by those on the economic side of life, although the Geological Society of Australia, which is a general geoscience organisation, is a member. The Australian Academy of Science, I'm not a fellow of it, but I'm a member of the National Committee of Earth Sciences because of my previous role with the Geoscience Council and now with the IUGS. So individuals can be elected to the Academy, but a lot of the work is done by the committees which have other people brought into it. And the International Union of Geological Sciences, which of course many of you are familiar with. 57, I think, financial members, and we hope by 1:15 this afternoon. That's 58 financial members if the meeting goes well with the Minister. 66 non-financial members who are involved in the IUGS. The only restriction is they don't get to vote on matters, but otherwise participate to the full extent. Many of the comments that have been made about IUGG also can be applied to the IUGS. So, what do they do and where do they get the money from? Geoscience Council coordinates support for a number of education outreach activities within the high school system with the objective of getting more students to come into the geosciences at university. We also do a 5-year survey of geoscience departments across the country, and I've done the last 2 just to have a look at major trends in terms of student numbers, staff numbers, and that sort of thing. We support various initiatives from inside the sector or even government. There's a big one in geotourism, which we think will be very useful for the geosciences and connecting to the community. And we also have done bids for some major conferences. Where do we get our cash? Levy on members, the 8 member organisations in proportional to the number of professional geoscientists who are members of those organisations. Also a surplus coming from conferences. Our annual income is only about $20,000 a year. So again, we are a classic organisation that is largely run by those who otherwise have day jobs. And that, I think, affects many of us. You have to carve out additional time to be involved in these major organisations on top of your normal work and other responsibilities. Australian Academy of Science advocates for science in general, especially with government. And of course, it's based in Canberra, which is the place to be if you want to talk to the feds. It is a link between government and with the universities. It has a series of national committees which prepare decadal plans, which do assist us in messaging and looking for funding, educational initiatives and some other activities. The main source of income, as far as I can tell from their balance sheets, is the federal government, plus the fees charged to fellows. But there are significant investments and they get funds from property. Their budget is about $11 million a year, which is a little bit more than the Australian Geoscience Council. And then finally, the IUGS that I'm treasurer of. Support for various international constituent groups, joint programs. We've got a big one with UNESCO, the International Geological Correlation Program. So in fact, we're the ones who determine when, what day of the week the Cambrian commenced and finished. So if you want to use the word Anthropocene, you actually need our permission to use it. And we select the location of the International Geological Congresses every 4 years. Now, the funding. Where do we get our cash from? There are the fees from the adhering members, which there are 8 categories, and it's an accelerating sliding scale, about $600 to be category 1, and you get 1 vote, and about $40,000 to purchase 8 votes. So you actually, the amount of voting you get for financial matters and where the IGC is to be held depends on how much money your national adhering body puts in. Some of the adhering bodies are academies, some are geological surveys, some are national geological societies. It does vary from country to country. Also, we get a surplus from the IGCs. The annual income, if you include the 4 yearly IGCs, is about $1 million a year. Now, here's a bit of an issue. The accounts follow the treasurer. So I've actually now got to get $2 million out of Japan and get it to Australia. Into what vehicle? I can't set up a personal account. The Australian Taxation Office will come chasing me. So we've had to set up, I've got 8 friends, very senior people in the Geoscience Council, a couple from the International Union of Geological Sciences, and a couple from my university department to form a new association, which is a legal entity, which I can then get a business number, set up foreign accounts to let the money come into the country. So the interesting thing is the organisation is actually registered in the US. We're not completely sure where, but we have been told. That should have raised some alarm bells. The Secretariat's in China. The Bureau is in South Africa, Germany and Australia. The executive committee members are in Slovenia, France, Italy, Iran, China, somewhere in South America as well. So, in fact, we don't have any members on the executive committee in the country in which the organisation is registered. A point I was going to make earlier today was a lot of our organisations, the statutes, the constitutions under which we formed were developed a long time ago. I mean, our statutes are actually written in Latin. A lot of them do not meet modern corporate regulation. And corporate regulation extends to not-for-profit associations in the sciences. So in many organisations, we're going to have to have a look at our governance processes because they don't meet modern requirements, and also the way the accounts are reported. There are international standards. I think many of us don't necessarily meet those standards. Not that anyone really cares that much. I mean, we're not a problem. There are generally no major issues, but in terms of governance, there are a couple. So why would you want to be a member of any of these peak bodies? We can coordinate or support activities that no other bodies can or possibly should be coordinating, because we can from time to time speak with an authoritative, unbiased voice. So the Australian Geoscience Council, we do meet up occasionally with parliamentarians. If other issues arise, we've had one university discontinued a geological program, so the Geoscience Council's approach to just talk about that decision by the university. Engage with the general community, deal with some big picture issues, fill in gaps that are not being filled by the component members. And also we can use our reputation to get a foot in the door. So a group like the Australian Academy of Science, if they want a meeting with the minister will have a meeting with them. An individual scientific society may have trouble getting into a minister's office, or at least getting more than 5 minutes of a minister's time. And that can be a very critical role to get science into the organisations that are making the big decisions. So why would you not want to be a member of any of these peak bodies? And there are a large number of reasons. One thing is, oh yes, it's just another pointless committee or bureaucracy over the top of us all that does nothing. That's the general argument that is put to us. Difficulty in us answering questions: what exactly do you do? What do you achieve? What is your shopping list of things which go, oh, that's useful, thank you for doing that on behalf of our constituent organisations? The cost, even with a sliding scale. Some people say, well, is it worth us forking out the $5,000 to join this organisation? Is it good value for that money? Is there a value proposition that we agree with? Occasionally, internal conflicts between member organisations, and certainly in the geosciences, keeping the various geological societies together is like herding cats. Or opacity or a lack of engagement with the grassroots and even higher levels within the food chain of the sciences. So they just don't know about you. So I was head of a fairly large department, 170 academics, and I wandered around my old department last week asking them about the International Science Council. Not a single person had heard of it, not one. And these are some fairly highly ranked scientists around the world. H indices getting towards 3 digits. So I think, well, that's a bit of an issue. How do we communicate all the way to the grassroots? What are these organisations and what are they doing for us? And that is the value proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for ending your presentation with a lot of provocative statements. So I guess now the panel is open for audience questions. So we have microphones and I can jump around and yes, sir.
It's nice to hear these presentations. I really thank you also for the information you give us. But as an outsider, it looks like you're all doing great, no problems. Whereas here, we are there to discuss problems. So I would like to stress also, at least you can give us a little bit an idea about the problems you're facing. And then we discuss the general problems we're all facing, that, of course, there's still a lack of representation of the things we should discuss here also. So I would like to ask you to move to the problems.
Are you addressing this particularly to David?
No, to all.
Alex is going to take the mic. Yes, please. Help us out here.
Okay, glad to answer. Again, I'm Alex Rudloff, Secretary General of the IUGG, and I would love to pick up what Jace just mentioned. So one role we did not discuss so far is the role of the adhering bodies at national level. So these are the first contacts for us as the IUGG and those who negotiate the annual fees with their national academies. And we are told regularly that at the level of the adhering bodies as well as at the level of the national academies, there's an increasing interest, let me call it. What is the money for? What is it good for? Do we need it to pay this amount, or may we increase it in further years? So I wouldn't call it a problem, but at least a challenge which affects all of us as unions and societies. Thank you.
Okay, there's a question. Yes, you.
Yeah.
And then at the back. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I would like to draw with my question the attention on what I consider the core of international unions. It's not so much the bureau or the board. These are the commissions. Because the commissions, when these unions were founded, they standardized knowledge, they accumulated knowledge, accredited it. So what is the situation with your commissions? At least I can say for my own union that we have a lot of issues. We have difficulties to find young people to work on this because it's not considered as a high publication what they produce sometimes, you know. Sometimes it's just collection of data and publication of bibliographic things and so on. So how you're doing with that, how are you funding the commissions? Thank you so much.
Okay, we have another.
It's possible.
The microphone. Yes, and then you. Yes.
The next one.
At the back.
That one. Thank you for the presentation, and I would like to pick up on the point that you raised. So we are the national adhering member to most of actually all of the ISC unions and committees. And we always have to motivate as to the value for paying these memberships and the value for paying IUGS, IUGG, IUCR, and you know.
Could I just ask you to introduce yourself?
Oh, my name is Puleng. I'm from the National Research Foundation, South Africa.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So it's a big problem that we are facing, and some people would see all these unions that I mentioned, for example, as one, and that, well, not as one, but they could benefit from one of them. So why are you paying for all these memberships? And then the second point is the point that you raised about the cluster or regional memberships. And I would like to make an example with the membership that we have with the IASA, where we applied for a region, sub-Saharan region, and it was approved. So instead of paying initially it was just South Africa and Egypt, but we were approved to pay membership as a region, which represent 18 sub-Saharan African countries. And that means we are all benefiting as a region with just one membership. Thank you.
Very nice. Maybe before I take the next question, I just want to have people on the panel respond to the issue of maybe overlap between what different geophysical unions are doing. So could you address the issue of overlap? Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to address the geo unions and other members about the challenges and the opportunities of joining these different unions. I would like to thank my colleague from South Africa for raising a very critical issue, which is about the choice amongst the different unions, the payment for different unions, while there is a large overlap in the activities. This is really a very important issue in 2025. I mean, it's maybe years back, it was necessary to have all these segregations of unions into topics because the members were small. I mean, not many people were interested. But in our days, there is a lot of overlap between research. We always speak about, or we are encouraged about multidisciplinary research, cross-disciplinary research, transdisciplinary research, but we are still working in isolation. So I agree that perhaps it's time to review our objectives and our strategic plans within the various unions and sit together as unions, geo-unions, and see how can we help our communities to benefit from the membership. Instead of paying 4 or 5 unions, maybe they can only pay 2 because that's responding to the needs of the National Committee. Please allow me to also add this. Maybe the rich countries in the Western world can afford to pay as many unions as possible. However, in Africa, if we can pay 1 union, that is really something very special. Not all the African countries, if you go through the membership of all the unions here, you hardly see more than 1 African country is a member. That is discrimination, in my opinion. So if we want to be inclusive, we need to look into ways how can we accommodate these poor countries to be part of the system. Thank you very much.
Okay, do you want to add to that, Mioria?
Yes.
And then we will take the next question from the audience.
Yes, I will try to answer both questions in once because I think they are somehow linked. My feeling is that one country is interested in supporting one union or another one or all of them, depending on the science driven in the country. I think some countries are maybe very much interested in one topic, another country a little bit less in one topic. We have here colleagues from International Union of Speleology, and I'm wondering if speleology is in every single country around the world. It's very difficult for me to think about this everywhere. So maybe one country is not interested in this topic, but is much more interested in radio sciences, for example, to support this part. But what is important to have between unions, I think, is to have this kind of commissions. And as you have seen, IUGG supports 5 different commissions with really different unions. So it's not only us with so many associations, 8 associations, but there are these 5 commissions. And this is a possibility to run together programs, as we show here. And I think it's the way to start somehow to think together a very fundamental question in science or applicative science, and to see who is interested in this question, how to address this question, and to bring together a few international unions and to put together efforts in scientists and efforts in funding in order to address this question. It's not just to bring together people because of funding. My feeling is that, first of all, we have to push science, to put very important questions in science, and to see the implication of this question for science and society. And when we have this, we can go on and think about what is the next step to be done.
Thank you. Your question, please.
So
Please
my name
introduce
is Odile.
yourself.
Excuse me, I will introduce myself. My name is Odile Eisenstein, and I represent the French Academy of Science and not a union, so I apologize for that. But I actually attended this session because I saw membership, and for me, I saw there was two types of membership. Is either each participant collect his own membership, but I thought we were also going to discuss the membership to the ISC, which I think is something I would like to hear more. So typically, I was translating all of the questions that you were presenting why to become a member of ISC, which I would like to actually hear from all of you. And also typically, why are we paying what we are paying, which means what is a budget, what is actually the detailed budget. When you look at it, it's not so obvious. I would like,
Are you
can I
talking
continue?
about ISC? Because here
I
we are...
am talking about ISC, but I thought when I saw membership,
Right, so
I
we are
think
not
we are
really...
all member to ISC.
Okay, so we are not really talking about membership to ISC, but we're talking about union membership. So I don't think any one of us, unless there are ISC fellows.
No,
who
no, no.
can-
I'm not answering on behalf of IC, but just to underline something else, Odile, it's in our union we are really very, very transparent with everything. As you have seen, we put numbers here in front of you, and we have the annual report. It's available on our webpage. It's a report where it's very much detailed on financing part, on scientific part. So I have no time here to detail. If you want, I can send to you all participants or this
I
one.
read the documents, and
Okay.
we can discuss that. I'll be
Yes.
happy to actually understand them better, but I think I
With
read
pleasure.
all of what I saw. So we'll discuss that. I'm not, but I saw membership, so I apologize for asking maybe the wrong question, but I think this is something which I would like to hear sometime during this.
Yeah.
this
Actually, I might make a comment on that. To some extent, the question why you would join a peak body like, the IUGG or the biology or the physics and the rest, some of that does carry over to the ISC, but there are some things which the ISC can do which none of us can do. And there was a very interesting, the first discussion this morning in that session was the issue of visas. How do you set up systems to provide some mechanism to make it a bit easier for scientists around the world to attend conferences? An individual union can't do that. The ISC speaks on behalf of what? 300 million scientists around the world. It is a body that, if it uses its voice well, carries a bit of weight. So you can go to various countries and say, look, can we all agree upon this sort of mechanism? Maybe work with the UN on some mechanisms. So again, there are some things which only the very peak bodies can do, and the individuals cannot.
I fully agree with you, but with the whole and everything, I took many points you raised, which is lack of membership, holes in the membership, could actually be discussed at the next level, which
Exactly.
I hope to hear sometime.
Exactly.
I agree. Thijs, you have a...
But we need first to discuss amongst ourselves.
Yeah, the point is of membership of the ISC is simple for Inquire. Simply, countries don't pay if you are not a full member of ISC. That is the issue, and so that's why that's why we are part of it. So this is, I think, maybe part of the answer also. That, and of course, I think it can do at this level. At least we can meet, we can communicate with each other, we can discuss the problems we are facing. And but again, I would like to discuss the problems of this morning.
Maybe I can put Thijs on the spot and ask him to talk about problems of Inqua, maybe? Or because you wanted us to talk about problems and possible solutions. So do you have any burning problems that you think really need to be, openly discussed?
No, I think one of the problems we are facing when we had the union meetings, that there is really, if you see and who's around the table, it's very European-centric participation. Yesterday I talked to the representative of the National Science Foundation of America about fees and structures and membership. And then there was the question also raised, okay, all these unions have started about more than 100 years ago. Our structure is still also from that period of time. Is it really time to reconsider and completely think out of the box when it comes to membership and all these kind of things? And then especially also the rule that if you pay, you can vote. And you have no vote if you don't pay. And even there are associations say, yeah, if you pay more, you have more votes. That's right. Now, all these kind of things, I think we should really address these issues and think, can we change the world in this aspect a little bit by just, for instance, what we did in Inqua when we had a General Assembly. Every country who was represented at the Congress was invited to join the International Council meetings. Yeah. So therefore, we had much more people in the audience than we have only paid members, because we also want to communicate with them. And one way or the other, I think we have to rethink our whole membership structure. And this is something I think we should do all together.
Exactly.
And this is now what I would like to propose.
Thank you, Tej. Yes, please. I'll come to you.
Yeah, my name is Bugwesa Katare from Tanzania Commission for Science and Technology. My question is directed to presenter from International Union of Geodesy and Geophysics. From the regional distribution map, you indicated current and the former members of the organization. So is there any reason behind the discontinuation of membership by several former member countries?
Did you get the question?
Not
Could
really.
you maybe go a little slower?
I'm asking if there is any reason behind the discontinuation of the former membership by several countries.
Oh, okay, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, yes, it's important because it shows somehow that it was an interest of one country to be member of IUGG. So it means there is a community in this country, and of course, somehow we would like to go back to these countries, to these scientists, and to bring them on the boat. So for us, all this map is also available on our website, and the idea is not to say that there is not at all interest in these countries in this geodesy and geophysics activities. So this is the reason we really wanted to have these spots on the map. In order,
Did that answer satisfy you, or
not to forget
you
someone.
could maybe talk later and get a better clarification? Is that okay? Or did you want to respond
No,
to that question?
no.
In which case, I'll take a question.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you. Silvina Ponce-Dawson from IUPAP Physics. I was wondering, in some societies, scientific societies with individual membership, if you're a member of a society, you are like accepted by other sister societies as member, at least to attend their conferences or things like that. Can we think of something along those lines for the international unions? Of course, that would mean not receiving as much money, which is a problem. But since we are facing this problem of multiple payments that our national bodies that relate with our unions, they are talking, why should I be paying so many memberships? Maybe we can start to think of something like, I don't know, sister unions or something that we could, I don't know, allow the members of one union to be treated in some similar, not exactly voting at the GA. So I don't know which rights we could give to the members that we receive from other unions, but that's something that we can think of. But then the other thing I wanted to talk about is this idea of commissions that you mentioned. I guess you were mentioning it for the geo unions, but maybe we can think for the ISC to establish some commissions to look at specific problems where we bring the expertise from different disciplines. And that would be, for example, this discussion we had before about addressing some of the SDGs or particular types of problems would be like the right structure to start discussing that and maybe produce a report or something.
If I can go on.
May I just have a comment? I actually quite like your idea. It reminded me of airline alliances. You know, you're a member of You have your miles and then you transfer your miles to related airlines. Star Alliance or something. I was just reminded, so you can, I understand, but I think it's an interesting idea to maybe think about. Yes, somebody, go ahead. Wait,
Thank you.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you very much. Thank you. 2 points. The first one is to the colleague from INQUA. Just to say that is exactly what I meant by it's time to review our constitutions, our governance, everything that we are doing within the geo-unions so that we can come up with a better way to satisfy and to bring more members. So that is, I fully agree with you. It is time to review. We haven't done this review, and this afternoon at the General Assembly, we will suggest this to happen. It's very important. Number 2, about membership and science. I do agree with my colleague here that we need to push science. But how can we push science if we don't have money? And we all know that our unions are, they run financially from the membership fees that we receive. So the more members, the more money. The more we can support commissions, collaboration, research project, and so on. The less members, the less we can provide. So that is the idea where we need to think, how can we increase the membership, but not being member of 10 unions. I agree with my colleague here that some countries are specialized in this or that, but I'm sorry to say this was probably 100 years ago. In our days, we have multidisciplinary initiatives where people do all kinds of things, joint project on different kind of research, and we cannot, as a G-Union, we cannot impose a discipline to a country. In South Africa, we have sedimentologists, we have petrologists, we have paleontologists. So does that mean now we just say, okay, sedimentology is the most important and we only pay for this union and we leave the others? No, we have no right to do that. So we need to review our system. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I can answer also to this commission staff. Yes, okay, yes. First of all, I have to let you know that there is a memorandum of understanding between the students involved in physics and one of our association. And we have very, very nice cooperation with this Association of Physical Students. Every single time they have a union, one representative of IAGA, so International Association of Geomagnetism and Astronomy, participate to the meeting, to give a talk and so on. And I think with respect of commissions, there are 2 or commissions or working group, or doesn't matter how we call these clubs. There are 2 directions. One is on how to better run our unions. So we need commissions to think about which are the issues with respect of early career scientists, with respect of the organization. But there are also commissions on scientific topics. And for example, study of the deep earth interior is really one of very important commission in our union, and every single year organizes meetings with AGU, so American Geophysical Union, with EGU, European Geoscience Union, and so on. So this commission somehow are also a mirror of our activities to the world. So it's very important to pick scientific questions and with other unions, not only geo unions, with mathematicians, physicists, and so on, and to go on.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm Catherine Jamy, and I will speak now about the International Union of History and Philosophy of Science and Technology. Well, it would appear that a number of governments or national academies feel that some disciplines are more useful than others, and certainly history and philosophy of science and technology seem to be one of the less useful ones. So what I have observed in the last decade is a number of National Academy of Sciences or Ministry of Researchers simply deciding that they would no longer pay for their country to be a member of our union. And these are not, you know, I could name the United Kingdom, Italy, and other very respectable countries that are not known to not support science. And so what we have done is to turn to the local societies of history of science, and it works, but with the exception of the UK and the USA, these national societies do not have the means that the government has, and so our union is, I would say, less rich by so much. And I am saying this because I wouldn't put it past some of the governments of the richest countries in the world to start thinking that some research, those that have some bearing on the environment, the climate, etc., are less worthy of financing than others. We have to be aware of this. So we also have to think of, you know, how each country is represented, what difference it makes if it's a national society that pays, because then it means that it's not me as a citizen who is paying for this union and ISC, but me as a scientist. So this is something that we just need to have in mind.
Thank you for that point, because I think with the geopolitics of the day, we need to be very aware that important countries might be wanting to withdraw from engagement with science, and especially withdraw from unions or scientific councils that espouse diversity and equity. And I think that this could be a very important problem. Yes, so you, and then behind. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would like to come back to the question on the membership issues, which was raised. So our union, the International Union of Speleology, was founded in the early Cold War, and as a platform to facilitate collaboration between the East and the West. And today we have about 60 member countries with 60,000 individual fellows. So that's our resource with which we are working. And why we have member countries as members, not individual fellows, that it's to give more power to smaller countries. So this was really the idea which was behind when the union was founded, and since then we have not changed it. And I would like also to address how we try to facilitate, especially member countries from the global south to become members. So we are covering their membership fees for several years. So of course, it's very difficult decision sometimes, you know, it's very difficult to decide, but from the around 60 member countries, about 50 are paying. And the others, the other fees are covered for sometimes 5 to 10 years. It depends if this country is, for example, in war or faces social problems and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Georg Gartner. I'm representing the International Cartographic Association. And we actually have an increase in membership currently, so we are doing very well, successfully. We have the opposite problem, and I'm not sure if somebody else shares that, and it links a little bit to what have been said there. Are there any political or ethical constraints for having somebody as a member, or to kick somebody out, or having eventually something organized in a country which you don't feel ethically or politically comfortable with? Is that any problem for some of you, or how do you deal with this topic? So for instance, there is a war or a conflict ongoing in a country which is a member of you, and it's requesting and organizing something. How do you deal with that problem? I would really like to hear your experience about that. Thank you.
Does anybody have, you want to directly answer that? Or you have?
I can also answer this.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I can, first of all, answer your question. Yes, I introduce myself. I am Edoardo Costantini. I am past president of the International Union of Soil Sciences. We have 80 national members, encompassing 50,000 individual members. So we are similar to the Colleagues Association. That means that we are a second level association, and we negotiate the fee with every country, because according to the specific position can vary a lot. For instance, I can tell you, I don't know how many people here is like me. I have been paying my fee with my personal money coming from my salary for 45 years now to be member of this union. And this is the same for many other countries. But in other cases, they have a financial support from the government. So in this case, we can get much more money from this national body. So we have to tune our fees very carefully according to the national condition. First point. Second point, we have this problem because in our membership we have Russia, we have Ukraine, we have Israel, we have Iran, we have countries which are in conflict, but we have this policy that we are open to all individual members. So every event or initiative which is carried out by a member country or individuals is supported by us without any bias, political bias, because we do believe that we are really a bridge, a means for peace. We celebrated our centennial last year, and we hosted people from all these countries which are unfortunately in war one against the other. But I think that we have to be open and let people attend all our meetings. This is our position.
And then, yes, go ahead. After this.
Yeah, when it comes to your question about the involvement, we have another experience in the sense that we were forced to come up with a statement what to do with our Russian colleagues. We made a statement in which we supported your view, and then a lot of countries, especially from Eastern Europe, but also I got reactions from South America, from Canada, saying, okay, if INCWA is really going this line, we will go out and we step out of INCWA because we don't want that. Now, we were forced to reinvent our statement, and now we are following the statement of the ICS. And then the next bunch of emails was, I like the first statement better than the second one. It shows how difficult it is. But I think it's very important that we draw one line together, that we really put based on an international level, because that was acceptable for any other country. Because if we say, okay, we follow the international line formulated by the ICS, and I think this is the way in which we can support each other. Whether this is the best, personally, okay, not, but.
Yeah, just a comment. I exactly think this is the point, that's the added value of an international media organization like this ISC here, that we are joining in having a statement, so that it's actually a relief for us because we can rely on this. Exactly, that's the point.
Okay, so we also issued a statement when the Ukraine situation started, but then we want to keep all our members, regardless of what happens with their governments, and in particular, since we started to see that many countries were not accepting physicists with affiliation in Russian institutions to attend conferences there, even be co-authors of papers and stuff like that, we offer the IUPAP affiliation to those, I mean, if they want to attend what is an IUPAP-related conference, we sponsor conferences and we also endorse conferences. So if it's IUPAP-related conferences, we offer them the IUPAP affiliation. So instead of their own institution. But we asked that they sign something saying that they are not involved in anything related to war, something like that. And we also offer the IUPAP affiliation for papers, because we had a situation with people from Iran that couldn't publish in a particular journal, and they asked us to provide the affiliation. Of course, we go through the paper to see the content and stuff like that, but we offer. It's true that also the individuals maybe don't want to use the IUPAP affiliation, particularly because the institution wants to be attached to the production, to the scientific production of that person, I guess. So it's been used, and we have that. And then, so we keep members. Then we don't talk about country members. In that way, we accommodated China, Beijing, and China, Taipei. That was an agreement. And we say one of our members is the Physical Society in China, Beijing, and the other one is the Physical Society in China, Taipei. And we talk about territorial members, which was something that started with the two Germanys, I think, basically, so that we didn't have to talk about countries. And that situation will allow us to accommodate having clusters of countries, because we talk about territories. Yeah. So we have territorial members. And then I saw that there was something about the SWIFT. We have problems receiving the payment from Russia, which is relatively high because it's out of the SWIFT. And now we found a way to do it through South Africa, I guess because of the BRICS. I don't know exactly how. It goes to the South African Institute of Physics, and then we will use that money to support the conferences that are held in Africa. So we try to go around to be able to liaise everybody, because we think that scientific collaboration is a driver for peace. We really believe that, so that's the way we behave.
We have a comment here.
Thank you so much. Yes. I'm Brigitte Kouri. I'm the president-elect of the International Union of Psychological Science. I'm so glad to hear this, because we are going through a very difficult period now managing this issue, and I will tell you what it is. So the union, the members are national psychology associations. We have 97 countries we cover over 2 million psychologists in the world. And what we've been struggling with actually for the last year and a half is that we have Ukraine, we have Russia, we have Lebanon, we have Israel, we have Yemen, we have Saudi Arabia. So we have countries where there are conflicts and wars. And Ukraine and 2-3 other countries have raised the issue to actually suspend and kick out the Russian association. So we've been literally struggling with this for a whole year. We got legal advice, we got governance consultation. I mean, it's been quite costly also. And now in 2-3 days, we have an extraordinary General Assembly to actually deal with this, because there is a motion to kick out the Russian association, which I don't think is going to happen for several reasons. Mainly, if we start this way, it's going to be a slippery slope. And we're not political, we're professional. We are experts in human behavior and conflict resolution. I mean, if we cannot solve this, I mean, we might as well close the 135 years we've had with the union. So, but it has been very difficult. And again, and I always say, what if, I hope, the war ends in 2 weeks? Then what? It will end at some point. We know wars end by history. And then what? Is it okay? And I'm so glad to hear this, because we have looked at other psychology associations. The only association that did something against Russia was the European one, EFPA, the European Federation of Psychological Association. And I think it's also a problem. Not only that, this summer they have a conference. They haven't allowed Russian psychologists to actually even submit any abstracts for their conferences. To me, this is a bit too much, especially that in governments where there are wars and there's authoritarianism and despotism, the first people who are suffering are the scientists, are the professionals. They are the ones kicked out, being discriminated against. And I personally said we cannot be aligning with this. Governments are something and professionals are something else. So I'm glad to hear your input, and I'm glad that we're hopefully on the right side. We'll see what happens in 2 days. Thank you.
Yes, actually, I'll just make a comment.
Yes.
There were some interesting workarounds that I think you've indicated here in terms of political difficult situations. But ultimately, we cannot break sanctions. So there is a country in a certain part of the world that has a number of international sanctions against it. We cannot accept money from them. So our workaround is that they are putting money into an account within their country for use that is consistent with the objectives of our organisation. But we cannot get involved in the management of it, or otherwise we individually would be subject to sanctions. And just because we're scientists doesn't make us some holy people that can walk around the world and ignore global politics. We have to operate within legal frameworks, and if we don't, certainly those of us in the bureaus or the executives may find ourselves dressed in orange, and orange doesn't suit me.
Concerning the issue of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I think within 2 weeks of this invasion, there was a petition by Russian scientists online against the war, and this prompted me to search, do Google translation at the time, and I located 4 historians of science. It's a small discipline. One of them is now in exile in France. So I think, and for God's sake, there is a very long history of Russian scientists and how some of them were pulled out of camps by international solidarity. So let us not and let us never assume that our colleagues in a given country are just government supporters, and maybe Russian scientists need more, more than ever, oxygen, meaning contacts with the outside world. So I'm not prescribing what any union has to do, but let us not forget that on the whole scientists are not, affiliated to the Ministry of Defense of that country.
Okay, hands up. Okay, somebody who hasn't asked a question, and then I come to you at the back. Yes.
The position of International Geographical Union. I'm the current president, International Geographical Union. And about the war between Ukraine and Russia, 2 years ago, our General Assembly decided to suspend the National Committee of Russia because, as many of you know, that geography sometimes is used by militaries, and the president of the National Committee of Russia was, or yeah, I don't know where is it, the Minister of Defense of the Minister of the War, and the other name is Vladimir Putin himself, and it's why the General Assembly of IGU decided to suspend the National Committee of Russia, but not the Russian colleagues, and they are welcome to our events, scientific events.
Thank you. The question at the back. You have a microphone?
Thank you. Okay, my comments are going to be different to what we are discussing, but I wanted to go back to the memberships and the issues that were raised with regards to the reviews and all. Oh, sorry, can you hear me now? Yes, I think of the 3 presentations that were made, there's only one union that mentioned conducting a review every 5 years, I think. I don't remember which one was it. So I wanted to ask if the other unions do conduct the reviews. How often do they conduct? And is it an internal review, or is it the ISC doing a review on the unions? If not, when has the ISC ever done that, a review of all the unions? Has the ISC ever been reviewed? Yes, and then I think the second comment and question was on sometimes we think that countries or adhering members stop the memberships because of the membership dues, but there could be other reasons. Do you ever reach out to your adhering members or the community to find out why they stopped paying? Because there could be other reasons. So we get our advice and direction from our community, and there have been cases where they would come back to us and say, we don't think you should continue paying membership to IUGS, for example, or for whatever reason that there may be. So sometimes it's not just about the membership, but the membership dues, but there could be other reasons. Other cases, there are cases where we don't receive invoices anymore. Sometimes the community would come back to us and say, we've been made aware that you are not paying membership. Why? Then we would have to reach out and ask for those invoices and all. Sometimes we just don't receive them, even if we ask, so we just stop paying in our case. So there may be other reasons other than the dues issue that we could have stopped paying. Thanks.
Thank you. Good point. Does anybody have an answer to the issue of whether ISC reviews the dues for all the unions? I don't think they do, and I'm not sure they should, because that's really a union issue. But does anybody have an answer, Mayoria?
Well, not exactly a direct answer, but the fact that, as I said at the beginning, we have really transparency in everything we do with our budget, with our activities, and everything is available on the web. So this is somehow a window to be open
Accountability.
by ESC, or doesn't matter who.
Accountability.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Haseen.
Thank you. Just a quick answer. Within IUGS, for example, we do review of the research conducted or the activities conducted by the various commissions, constituent groups, and so on. But I don't think, well, I'm a new president, only elected a few months ago. I don't think we have a review of the union as a whole. And that is why I suggested at the early stage of this discussion, maybe it's something we need to start. I don't know. We need to discuss it, whether it's really relevant, whether it will help or not. So it's something that needs to be discussed. Thank you.
Tees.
About reviewing I know that SCAR, one of these Polo Research Union, they do this review, and they also, when they have applications for new membership, they have really heavily reviewed it. And I was attending the General Assembly meeting in November last year, and there we had 3 applications for new membership, and they rejected 2 because of the review they did. And so they have really an internal review system, and also especially very heavily for new members. So it's something also to where there is already some experience there.
Maybe to respond to, I think it's unfortunate if any union doesn't provide invoices, and certainly those things should be made widely known so that unions need to pull up their socks, because I don't think that that's acceptable practice at all. So I don't know which union, but maybe we should, on behalf of all unions, apologize if you've had an unfortunate experience, and maybe this is good for people who are representing so many unions here in this room to take cognizance that these things should not happen. Yes? We are maybe 10 minutes from lunch, and I know 2 of our panel members have an important meeting with the minister to get some money for a new member to enter their union. So certainly we cannot prevent that. David, are you also leaving us shortly?
Yes, I'd better.
For the minister meeting.
Yes, although the president's the most important person, but I've got the cash. Just one other point about the unions and communication. At times I felt that the executive, we have not maintained the sufficient connection to the adhering bodies. so it's the case that the International Geological Congress every 4 years. Actually, the IGC spun off the IUGS. Normally, a society creates a conference, and the conference actually more or less owns the union because the conference commenced in 1878. So you come to the Geological Congress meetings where we meet, we look at the statutes and the rest. A lot of countries don't know who's going to be representing them until a week out, sometimes actually at the conference. And I think we have not maintained proper links to the representatives of those adhering bodies. So what are the mechanisms by which we can keep them inside the tent more? Because they should be guiding us on those activities, which they think will add value, which of course then justifies them maintaining their level of support. So bureaus and executive committees, I think there's a responsibility for us to keep the communication and the connection going into our members.
Absolutely. I think we've really discussed a range of issues. You still have something. The indomitable thing.
If there is no really other statements. Coming back to the meeting I had yesterday with the National Science Foundation representative from the US, she came up with a very provocative statement saying, yes, maybe in the future we don't even support unions anymore because we want to support thematic research. And this is something also to take home and saying, okay, what is the future of our organizations? Because we are facing this problem that countries, national science foundations and so on, they decide whether they will support us or not. It's not a very solid base to think of. And if you then deal with young administrators who are thinking in the lines of, yes, but why? What is IUBS? What is INQUA? What is this? What is that? Why we should really support something which is visible, which is clear for the public, and which is very easy to explain why we support this. And if they start thinking along these lines, maybe it's good that we survived more than 100 years. But whether we survive another 100 years, that's the big question. And there's something to think about the future also in these lines. And I think to have this discussion, we can do that among each other. But it's better also to have this discussion also with our financing bodies. This is the link we need to have, and to have them really in contact with them also, because they will decide finally about our future.
Yes, that's a very practical. Yes, please, you have the microphone.
Yeah,
please
thank you.
introduce yourself.
Gabriella Viero, IUPub. So thank you so much, because this is something I wanted to put here for discussion, because I was trying to make a sort of thought experiment that I wanted to share that goes precisely in this direction. So what if we think about problems and unions in a matrix, and we transpose the matrix. So basically what we do is that we as unions are providing experts on specific teams that are funded by people that is now supporting the unions. So this would be probably a sort of model that is going in the direction that you are mentioning. And this would, in a way, also reply the question from the colleagues from the Speleology Union concerning commissions. So the idea may be to have commissions that are across unions, so transdisciplinary, and that are taking care of specific teams that then may be funded, and this funding then is shared across the unions, who then give their support on a specific team. So I think that this then is also clearer for people that is giving the funds, because then you have a product that now we are used at producing things, being this a report or whatever it is, and then this is clear also to go into the review of what they get from what they give. And so maybe this is a sort of model we can start to think about. And maybe also this idea of having this group of unions that we talked this morning may be a starting point for discussion on this new model.
Thank you for that, because I think, as Tej rightly pointed out, the funding environment is always in flux, and I think we need to display resilience in our thinking. And speaking as an ecologist and evolutionary biologist, if we have to survive, as they said, for another 100 years, we have to develop redundancy and backup mechanisms for our survival.
Yeah, and
So,
if I may, I just add, and then I will, because I'm very supportive with the colleagues from the Historic Union, and I'm very fond of this, because even if I am from hard sciences, I think humanities are really, really important, because we are not we are humans. We are not just numbers. Okay, we are also other things, and we need humanities. And so this model, I think, will also help in this, because of course in big teams we also need psychology, history, philosophy, the other point of view, not just the data and the numbers, which are important, but is just part of the story, of course. And so I think that this might also help this new model other unions that in this moment are struggling. Then in 10 years might be my union struggling, or other unions. So I think this is more resilient model probably.
thank you. Yes, you had a... thank you, David. I know that you have to leave, and I hope your bag is heavier when you come back with all the money.
Yes. I just wanted to make a comment. I don't think it's possible to transpose the matrix so easily, because we are international unions and our members are national bodies. I don't think we can give expert advice to the national bodies. I don't know. I don't see the IUPAP giving advice to the National Academies of Science in the US, which is the liaison committee for the US country member in IUPAP.
No,
but my feeling is that we are in the international arena, and that we can give advice to international bodies and stuff like that. But go back to our members, who we call territorial members. I don't see how we can do that.
No, probably I was not clear then, because
That's what
the
I
point
understood.
is to have commissions that will
No, that's another thing.
tackle,
I thought you were
with
saying
specific problems, and then your union, so IUPAC, can decide which is the scientist that can help or can be part of this commission.
Yes, I had also proposed the commissions, but within the ISC, or maybe if we could, I don't know, impact on some governmental international bodies like the UN or whatever, that would be great. But I don't see how we can impact into those that pay the dues, which is national bodies. That I don't see.
We can talk a little bit more about this. Okay, closing comments, because we have 1 minute left.
Well,
okay, you want to have the last word. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's the last, but I'm the last one to be here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, my last thought will be to the future, as we discuss a lot, and I think the future is via our early career scientists.
Sorry?
Early career scientists.
Okay.
And if we want to have our unions tomorrow and after tomorrow, we have to involve them in our activities. We have to promote them, and we have... Yeah, the
Mic went off. Can somebody resuscitate the mic there?
I'll take another one. Okay, this is better. Okay. So my feeling is that we have really to work with and for early career scientists, to have them on board, because the future of our unions is in their hands. And I think they have very, very nice idea. And I'm sure we are not going to survive 1 year or 2, or I'm sure we will survive decades and even more. So this is my very last word to the early career scientists.
Okay, thank you. So thank you to all for, I think we've had a lot of interesting ideas and possibilities, and want to thank, if Priscilla and Mike Meadows are listening to this, thank you very much for all your guidance to get us to this stage. Thank you, and have a good lunch.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right. So next time you come, you should let me know, and then